In the last couple of months, it's been pretty much the internet wrestling community's favorite pastime to shit on AEW left, right, and center. And despite all of this and how it does kind of have a negative effect on trying to watch the show, I did check out AEW's latest pay-per-view, the latest new pay-per-view, and I think the last new pay-per-view they're going to be debuting for a while, in Dynasty, which was completely centered around the main event between Samoa Joe, the AEW World Champion, defending against Swerve Strickland. And this is the crowning moment from the long journey that Swerve Strickland's been on since the middle of last year, on his way up the card in AEW, becoming one of the most popular wrestlers in the company. Whose house? Swerve's house. And we were going to see that come to fruition today at AEW Dynasty. But before we get into what happened in Dynasty, I do want to remind you guys, as always, this is YouTube, the algorithm, all of those good things. If you hit the like button, it lets other people know that we cover AEW here, and that's probably especially important these days because most of the time when you hear people online and YouTube and podcasts talking about AEW, it's usually very, very negative and or paid for hit pieces. But we're not going to do that here. We're going to give an honest review of the show, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I will say I did miss the first match. I had to go back and rewatch it, but I did catch the pre-show. And I did catch the main thing for the pre-show was unifying the six-man and the trios tag team championships. Bullet Club Gold, I don't think they even calling them Bullet Club Gold anymore. I think they're just calling them the Bang Bang Gang. Jay White and the Guns, the Ring of Honor tag team, six-man tag team champions, taking on the AEW Trios champions of the Acclaimed, along with Daddy Ass. The match was fun. A lot of this was built on the intrigue of them being the Bang Bang Scissor Gang for a while. I thought it had potential, and they could have done a lot with it, but fans were just crap. But again, the internet's been crapping on everything. Anything AEW does, they've been crapping on. I thought it had potential. They seem to have just kind of cut it short. I don't know if this was the original plan, but they split the group up. They're having this match. It was a fun match. I know people are really upset that Jay White's not in the main event, and he's not even on the pay-per-view proper. He's on the pre-show, yada, yada, yada. But, look, I'm not writing the show. It's whatever they're doing is whatever they're doing. I thought the match was fine. I thought it was fun. Max Caster, I don't know. His raps don't seem to be hitting quite as well, and I think he's losing his flow a little bit on even this night with he did an acapella version of it, and I don't know, it was kind of weird. But Jay White is Jay White, and he did get the win over Daddy Ass to kind of pay back the match that everybody got upset about a couple weeks ago. He does hit the Blade Runner on Billy Gunn, gets the win, and now the Bang Bang Gang are the unified six-man tag team champions. And look, we didn't really need two six-man tag team titles. I think that's probably a very smart decision on the part of Tony Khan and AEW to get rid of both of those six-man. Most companies, even though six-man tag team championships have been around for as long as I've been watching wrestling, which has been a long time, and various different companies, you don't need two of them. So, because they are rare titles to have anyway, but this was fun. I think the right decision was made. And now we get into the show proper. I did have to go back and watch Kazuchika Okada against Pac. I thought this was a great opener to the show. Okada retaining was the right decision. I do, though, want to see Pac get something of a better run in AEW. I know he's splitting his time in AEW with some of the stuff he's doing back in Europe, and he had some injuries here and there. But this was one of the dream matches on the card for me. I've always liked Pac and Adrian Neville for you WWE fans who don't pay attention to anything outside of WWE. Him versus Okada was absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. The rest of the undercard, however, dragged a little bit for me. There were some highlights, though. Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, I should have expected it to be a really good match. I wasn't wild about the feud going into the match, but the match itself was great. We did get the return of Adam Cole Bay, who's finally gotten out of the chair. He's taking a break from Final Fantasy to do. He's been doing his rehab, and he's up and walking again, and he's given Wardlow a stink eye. So I think, again, my thought is that that's probably going to play into the return of MJF, and we're going to get this kind of odd couple thing with MJF and Wardlow. It seems like that might be where it's going, but we're going to have to wait and see as the story evolves. And now that Adam Cole is seemingly back on his feet, I don't know if he's cleared to wrestle yet. I think that storyline, which has been kind of stalled for a while, is going to probably start moving a lot faster in the next couple of months. The other undercard match that I was not wild about, and again, this is another thing about the fans kind of affecting the show. Jericho versus Hook for the FTW Championship. Jericho is just, there's something, I think with the fans, they're just tired of him. He's been around a lot, and I you know, there was the controversy with Kylie Ray that was kind of debunked, but still, I think people are still, I think the damage was done with that anyway, and then Jericho just being, you know, I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. I don't really know where it started with everybody really hating Jericho, but Hook, I think Hook did well in this match. He stole a little green. He set the table up in the corner kind of wrong, so the table spot didn't work. There were some botched spots in this match, but the overall story in the end with Jericho trying to take him out with the Judas effect, not being able to put Hook down, Taz getting upset about everything, Jericho coming in the ring with Floyd the Bat, hitting Hook, which looked nasty from the camera angle they used, to get the win. Taz coming up and saying, hey, get out of here, Jericho, you're done. You know, and now he's got the FTW Championship. Hook has fallen to Jericho. Taz is pissed off now because his championship is now in the hands of somebody who he kind of respected, but is now kind of losing a lot of respect for. I do like this kind of Homelander thing that Jericho's doing where he thinks he's the good guy, but he's not. If that's the way they're doing it, I think this could be really cool because Jericho can play that really well if that's what they're going to do with him in the future. I want to see him trying to really go further with it and try to really play up as if he's just be completely oblivious to the fact that everybody hates him and he's doing heel stuff, but he thinks he's the good guy. The other match on the undercard that I kind of did like, that kind of got my attention, that I wasn't anticipating to be as good as it was Willow Nightingale challenging Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. I'm surprised that the match ended the way it did. It ended kind of sudden. Julia had a really good run as the TBS champion, but this is obviously to set up the match with Mercedes Moné, who came out after the match. And her and Willow will now officially be meeting at Double or Nothing coming up next month in Vegas for the TBS Championship, which, you know, again, another thing where the internet is, I'm going to say that a lot in this video, because I think what AEW is booking and what the internet wants it to book or comments on it kind of, again, dilutes the show a little bit. But I thought the match was good. I am still just surprised Julia won as suddenly as she did. This followed the match with the rest of the House of Black taking on Ring of Honor World Champion Mark Briscoe, along with, I think, Eddie Kingston, still the New Japan Strong Champion, and the TNT Champion Adam Copeland. This match was a lot of fun. The whole point is to get Malachi and Adam Copeland in a one-on-one program, probably coming up at Double or Nothing for the TNT Championship, which I'm excited to look forward to. I hope they have, you know, Copeland's been doing some of his own stuff. Him and Christian, you know, they planned out the majority of their feud. Hopefully, Malachi Black, as we all know, he's been cited as one of the disgruntled workers in AEW and, you know, waiting out his contract or whatever's going on. Hopefully something here there's some creative spark between these two guys, because I think this could be a really good feud if they put the effort into it. I know Copeland will Malachi Black put the effort into it, or is he just waiting to get out so he can go back to WWE? I guess time will tell. Then we get into the last four matches of the night, and this is when the show really kicked off. And the last four matches I absolutely recommend watching. The first one I want to talk about is the AEW Women's Championship match. Toni Storm, timeless Toni Storm, defending against Thunder Rosa. This is probably one of the best women's matches I've seen in AEW. And at one point in time, you know, you kind of forget that Toni Storm actually is an amazing athletic wrestler. And at one point in the match, she kind of breaks out of the character a little bit and just starts like really going like 900 miles an hour, doing a lot of moves and setups and counters and everything else. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Toni Storm can wrestle. I forgot about that. ThunderRosa was great too. I think this match, at one point in time, she's mocking some kid at the ringside who said, I love Toni Storm. She's like, I love Toni Storm too, before I drop her on her neck on the apron. This match was fun, hella fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great defense. And the woman with cakes, Man, that woman's got some cakes. Toni Storm, sorry, Toni, but yeah, hey, look, the camera's right on at all times. Toni Storm successfully defends the AEW World Women's Championship. I'm getting tongue-tied here. She is the greatest character. She is the greatest character. One of my favorite characters in not only AEW but in wrestling right now. I love everything Toni Storm is doing. It's fantastic, and hopefully it continues on to the future. I'm kind of interested in what Mariah May and Deonna Purrazzo, because they got into a battle outside the ring. Who's going to be the next challenger? It's not going to be Mercedes, so I think they're saving that for down the road. Maybe Mercedes is going to try to win both titles. Maybe that's going to be a thing. So we'll have to see what comes with that later on. And then we got to have probably the match of the night. I think everybody's going to agree with this. It's definitely a match of the year contender. Will Ospreay taking on Bryan Danielson. Dude, this was 30 minutes of pure bliss. There's nothing I can say. They had one slight botch in the match, but outside of that, this was just fantastic. These guys, the chemistry was so good. Ospreay does a blind Oz cutter, and Danielson's timing is so great that he does the running knee at the exact right moment to hit Ospreay in the side of the head. There are some crazy spots in this match. A lot of this was centered on Ospreay trying to go tit for tat with Danielson, realizing that wasn't going to work. Trying to go after some of Danielson's injuries. Danielson going after the neck and the shoulders of Ospreay, as well as his midsection. There was a lot of stiff punches in here. These guys work really, really well together. I hope we get to see another match with them. I know Danielson's in his last year of his full-time career. But the match ended with I've never seen this before. I may have seen it, but I may have forgotten it. But I can't remember seeing this before. Near the conclusion of the match, Danielson's in one corner. He's about to do the yes thing, and the crowd's doing yes, no, yes, no. In the opposite corner, Ospreay is unsheathing the hidden blade, and I'm like, me and my friends were watching it, and he's like, we're all like, they're gonna do a duel. It's a duel. They're gonna duel, and the crowd got what was going on. The crowd was insane for this moment, and I was insane for this moment. I was like, what in the hell are we about to see? They go running full speed at each other. Ospreay wins the duel, hits the hidden blade. Then he hits the Tiger Driver 90 whatever, and I was scared. I was scared because we all saw what happened with Kenny Omega last year at Forbidden Door. But Danielson took it clean. He took it well. On the bump was not dangerous, it's dangerous, but it wasn't as dangerous as it could be given Danielson's history. Danielson, however, does sell it as if he's got a stinger or he's crippled or something. The referee then goes over to the doctor. They make sure the camera catches this while Ospreay is celebrating. Is not aware of this. Hits the hidden blade from behind when Danielson's already quivering. Gets the win, and then afterwards, Ospreay feels remorse because he sees that Danielson is carrying it like he's got some sort of nerve damage or something, which was kind of scary until I realized, that this is part of an angle and Danielson's not legitimately hurt, which, I kind of don't like when Danielson does, because we all know his health issues in his past, and I don't like them kind of teasing that. I understand it's Danielson's choice to do that, but it's, if something never bad does happen to him, then it's kind of like, should we feel bad about it, or is he working us again? I don't like that. But overall, that was one little nitpick and the one little botch earlier in the match. Outside of that, this absolutely a phenomenal match of the year contender. Absolutely, Will Ospreay picking up the win. Probably on his rocket ship towards the AEW Championship match at All In coming up at Wembley. I think we're all expecting that's where this is going to go. Then the fourth match between FTR and the Young Bucks, or the EVPs, I guess we should call them now. This is a ladder match. I wasn't aware it was a ladder match until the last minute. The first two matches they had in AEW I thought were excellent. The one at Wembley last year and this one, the crowd was a little quiet for this one, which is weird. I don't think these last two matches have been as good as the first two matches these teams had against each other, which unfortunately was in the pandemic era, so there were few or no fans watching to respond to those matches. And now, I don't know, they haven't hit quite the same way. The big thing about this match, and we all kind of predicted this after the New Japan show, the Windy City Riot show last weekend, the scapegoat Jack Perry was brought back. This was the reason behind the whole showing the footage and everything else. And again, another thing where the internet is, I'm not going to get into it again. I've said it like 4 times in this video already. Jack Perry makes his return, comes out of the audience, and he does help the Young Bucks, the EVPs, win their third AEW Tag Team Championships by defeating FTR in the ladder match. I mean, FTR have been losing a lot of matches lately. I'm sure Phil thinks that this is punishment or whatever. I do see that there's going to be a fifth match between these teams, and obviously in the future, when that's going to be, how that's going to go down, we're going to have to wait and see. But the ladder match was great. I just wish the fan reaction was a little bit better for it. There were a lot of great spots in this that were kind of quiet at some points in the match. But again, the main point was getting Jack Perry back on AEW television. He handled it like a boss, and I'm sure at Dynamite on Wednesday, that's probably going to be one of the biggest segments on Dynamite coming up this week. And then we have the main event, Samoa Joe defending the AEW title against Swerve Strickland. The match wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, but it was good enough. It served its purpose. The purpose wasn't really to have a great match of the year contender here. The purpose was Swerve Strickland climbing the mountain that was Samoa Joe and becoming the AEW World Champion. And almost with tears in his eyes, you could see it when he was doing the final sequence. You could tell it was the final sequence because Swerve was getting so emotional standing on the top rope before he delivered the Swerve Stomp on Joe to get the win. And then afterwards, man, this was a great feel-good moment. I don't care what anybody says. I'm really tired of listening to what other people say who don't like the show. I need to stop doing that. I think a lot of us need to stop doing that, paying attention to some of this stuff. But as a whole, the Dynasty was a great show. The first half of it was a little slow for me, but like I said, the last four matches and the opening match with Pac and Okada were definite must watches, and some of the matches in the middle were pretty good too. But obviously, the most recommended match is Danielson and Osprey. It is what everybody thought it was going to be, and then some. So where are we going from this? We got Dynamite coming up on Wednesday. We got 3 hours of Rampage and Collision coming up on Saturday. I do know the West Coast people that Dynamite's going to be live at 5 o'clock instead of airing at 8 o'clock this coming week for AEW Dynamite. So there's going to be some fun there. The post media scrum it wasn't that eventful. It was some good stuff. I would suggest checking out some of the interviews. Toni Storm was on there. Ospreay, Willow was there. Tony Khan answered some questions about the streaming services. They did address some of the stuff with Ospreay and Triple H, and Ospreay said he doesn't really want to talk about that stuff anymore. That this was his first experience with the tribalism, and he's like, nah, I don't want none of it. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world, Ospreay. Yeah, it's really nasty and just counterproductive. But again, I recommend watching AEW Dynasty. Fun show, great ending, feel good moments, and again, Danielson, Osprey. If you haven't seen that match and you call yourself a wrestling fan, you definitely got to watch it. But I want to know what you guys thought about AEW Dynamite, AEW Dynasty. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and reviews on the Rantin' Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.